Hello there. Am I able to get this music going? You know what? Then hello there. All right, good. It's working. Thank you. Welcome to a Monday night edition of Illini Cast. Today, I'm sorry, I was supposed to be recording a little bit earlier. I never got a chance to. Finally got the kids to bed. I wanted to just gather a couple thoughts. I had a couple thoughts on the Purdue game. I kind of did this last time, the night before our Purdue matchup. And I also have some thoughts on a topic that's kind of going around right now on who the Big Ten basketball coach of the year should be. So just want to, make my case. I genuinely believe that Brad is as strong of a contender as anybody this year. And so, you may agree, you may not disagree. I know Brad's got a very stingy contingent both ways. Some thinking he is a fantastic coach and some ready to move on. So, whatever side you land on, so be it. It's a chill Monday night here with the Illini Cast. Before we start, do me a quick favor. If you can, like and subscribe, please. Small channel like mine, it does me a lot of favors. YouTube, it's not going to pay attention to me until I'm at 1,000 subscribers. So we're almost halfway there. If we could reach that 500 mark before the end of the basketball season, that would be amazing. And may not be much to you, but it costs you nothing. And you certainly would make this content creators smile. So please, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. And something new that we're starting is if you take a look in the description here, I constantly get messages and DMs on Twitter, and sometimes the conversation happens here in the chat. So I see that we're slowly starting to build somewhat of a community. Our show's been going on since the beginning of football season. So you're talking about 7-8 months now. And so we're continuing to grow. And we just wanted kind of a central location where all of us can talk. You guys aren't just waiting on me to produce a video or, making content. So, we can talk back and forth every single day, whether it's about Illinois content or athletics or about the show. A little hint is there's going to be some announcements that I'll be making shortly when the time is right in regards to both Illini Cast and some other ventures that I'll be working on, which I think a lot of you will be very excited for. And I'm looking forward to sharing the news. But so I just want to get that housekeeping out of the way. And I figure let's go ahead and start with what apparently is the Illinois basketball fans' Super Bowl tomorrow. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but I made a comment earlier on Twitter, and I had like 3-4 Purdue guys. I was referencing the game for tomorrow, and we had 3-4 Purdue folk, and I don't know why. I know Twitter's the worst. And you guys tell me this in the mentions, and you're 100% right. The worst of the worst are on Twitter, and they're the ones responding to my content, and I gotta be smart enough to ignore that, but whatever algorithm Elon's changed, it's just made it completely worse because I don't follow these Purdue accounts. And just like they don't follow me, I have no idea how my tweet got into their feeds, but it did for whatever reason. Apparently, this is the Illini fans' Super Bowl tomorrow. It means nothing to us, but it's your guys' Super Bowl. I wasn't aware of that. It's an important game. I don't know how you can't say it's not an important game, considering these are, in my opinion, the clear two of the best programs in the conference the last couple of years. And it seems very likely at this point that Purdue is going to win the Big Ten outright. But let's be honest, these two programs don't like each other. They're not. The fans don't like each other. I don't think the players are too fond of each other. We know the drama with Coleman Hawkins and that Joker meme. It seems to be popping up, constantly. Like every time Purdue stumbles a little bit, Coleman's very quick on throwing that meme out. That's just his personality. But these two programs, these two teams, and certainly these two fan bases just flat out don't like each other. And so to treat this game like it's just another game. To me, it's kind of Purdue fans not acknowledging, not wanting to give credit in case they were to lose. The line came out. I think I saw Illinois as 1.5 points favorites, and honestly, I was a little bit surprised by it. I'll get to that in a second. But Purdue, obviously, again, they've won the Big Ten Conference. Good for them. Congratulations, Matt Painter. Honestly, and Illinois fans don't like it when I say this. I don't mind Purdue, the program, the coach, Matt Painter, their players. I think they're a likable group. I think Matt is a fantastic coach. I've said it on this show. I've said it on other shows that I think he's easily one of the 5 best coaches in the country. It's just everything surrounding the program that I just don't like, and I've grown to dislike a little bit more, at least since I started this show. But let's, go ahead and start with the game tomorrow. I believe the game starts at 6 or 7 o'clock, and it's on Peacock. So if you haven't gotten Peacock yet, I don't know if you're gonna splurge at this point, but I don't know why you haven't gotten it at this. Like, trust me, go to Google, type in Peacock student discount, find a student in your life. You can get it greatly discounted. I've used it for Premier League stuff. I'm a big Newcastle fan. I use it for WWE stuff every now and then, whenever that's on. It's a great value, honestly. And their presentation, and I truly mean this, their on-screen graphics when watching a game is a lot better than anything we're seeing on TV. So it's really not a bad product. And I know we kind of complain that this is something else I have to pay for, this and that, and I'm speaking to, in particular, the Illinois fans watching this. And you know what? Honestly, if there's any Purdue stragglers who are watching this, we need to kind of be grateful for Peacock. Peacock and that media deal that we've signed with, with all the companies, NBC and Fox and whatnot. We're getting paid a lot of money. We're going to be paid more money than a lot of the big ballers. There's a reason Florida State's trying to get out of the ACC. There's a reason a school like Clemson, which with a hugely popular football program, is trying to get out of their conference and try to get into the Big Ten. And it's because of all the money that we're getting in. So I know it's a bummer. You got to pay, I think, $12 a year or $20 a year, depending on if you can find a discount online. But it's well worth it to keep Illini athletics in the top tier. Otherwise, there's a lot of programs out there that, we grew up watching, or at least I grew up watching, who kind of have a dystopian future, who, they kind of have to do a little self-reflecting on whether college football is going to be important to them moving forward, just because the levels of playing field are going to be so uneven moving forward. Bradley, thank you for dropping by. He says, hello, Bradley. Hello to you. I appreciate you watching today. Kevin Ducey, how's it going, sir? Kevin, you can catch on Orange and Brew, or always keeping it orange. Sorry, Kevin, drop the name. I'm really sorry. I confused the name. It's on Sunday nights with Ryan. Ryan was on one of my Big Ten shows a week ago, and I'm sure we'll have Kevin on soon as well. It's our biggest game this season, no doubt, 100%. But I guess our fan base is acknowledging that, whereas the Purdue fan base is really not. They're trying to downplay it, and I know why they're downplaying it. They're trying to act like there's some sort of big brother in this type of scenario, which I don't quite understand. Yeah, they've won 4 in a row, but their postseason results have been worse than ours, more embarrassing than ours. And so I joked around about it all season long. Purdue fans and fans and Illinois fans are just kind of the Spider-Man meme, pointing at each other. We both don't really have anything to be braggadocious about over the other. We both had strong regular season success, and we've just kind of disappointed once it comes to the postseason. Kevin once again responds, agree completely. Edie seems like a great guy. Smith is an easy player to like. The fandom is tough to deal with. It's true. My brother went to Purdue for his undergrad, and I've never really had any ill will. Like, I don't know if any of the Boiler Express guys are going to be watching tonight. I get along with them just fine. They're a good group of people. It's just the surrounding community. You know, there's certain accounts who, again, blame X, blame Twitter, whatever Elon's trying to do to get emotions evoked out of people. He's found the secret formula, and he's been doing it for, it's everything you hate is showing up on your feed because you react to it. And for me, it's Purdue fans trolling Illinois fans, even though I don't follow them. It shows up on my timeline, and vice versa. Kevin, keeping it orange and blue. Kevin, my sincerest apologies. I'm a fan of your show, and I try to check in on Sunday nights, usually around 9 o'clock Central or so. So thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Now back to this game tomorrow. Purdue is the better basketball team. This should not be a controversial take. It is what it is. Purdue's right now, I think they fell to number 3 for some reason. I don't know why. They haven't lost a game recently, but they fell from 2 to number 3. In my opinion, they're clearly, in my opinion, if I had $100 to pick somebody to win the national championship, it would be Purdue right now. Actually, I've done this bet before. I have a Purdue future. I did it for selfish reasons, a happiness hedge, but I think Purdue, the way that they're built, is going to be really, really tough to beat. You have a human cheat code in the middle with Zach Edey. And similar to the storyline of what happened previously with Virginia, being that 1 seed and losing it to a 16 seed, what they followed that up with? They followed that up with a national championship. I genuinely think that Purdue can follow that same exact storyline this year. And in my opinion, they probably will. Having said that, I think if Purdue and Illinois played 5 times, Illinois would win 2 of those times. I don't think the separation, the divide between the 2 teams is nearly as big as our neighbors to the east, at least their fan base, is pretending it to be. I think we play a style of basketball that, I think I saw we were the number 1 offensive team in the country since January 1st, and I think Purdue's number 2, or swap those, one of those. Our defense has fallen off a cliff, in particular since February 1st, but honestly, Purdue's is not that much better. I think I saw it on Sleepers. I think the Sleepers guys pointed out that Purdue's defense has been ranked number 44 since January 1st. So we're not talking about the same lockdown defense that, we were ourselves. I think we were top 15 up until January 1st. And I know Purdue was right up there too. I think they were top 10. Both of us had fallen off, but Purdue has stumbled a bit, whereas Illinois has really just kind of fallen off the building. But it is what it is. I still think that our style of play is going to cause trouble. And I talked about this on the post game, and we heard, I think it was Stephen Bardo talk about it, well, whoever the announcement crew was in the Wisconsin game, sorry. When we play our style of play, where it's just run and gun at our pace, there's not many teams out there that can keep up. And if you really think about it, and you just put common sense, and just think about common sense wise, if we're pushing, if we're running, and we're not slowing it down, I'm not sure where Purdue's Edey is going to fit in all that. In the first game, at least for the first, 8 minutes, they killed Ty Rodgers. They just put Edey on Ty, and then all of a sudden our offense stagnated. Purdue just ran away from it. And yeah, we kind of closed the gap a little bit, but the gap was too big to begin with, and we just couldn't rebound completely and come back. And of course, the biggest thing to talk about that game is our best player, Chance Shannon, Jr. was not there. Well, he's back. Terrence is back. And Terrence, I don't know who on Purdue you can stick on Terrence. So my number one X factor, and think about this while we're all watching the game tomorrow, is we all know Zach Edey is essentially unguardable. Whether we like it or not, and I'm not voicing my opinion on that in any sort of way, whether you think he's a big, giant guy who just gets calls from the refs, ref calls that other people wouldn't be getting, or you think, it's just his natural size makes it difficult for defenders to not foul him. Whatever the reason may be, we know Zach Edey is a very difficult guy to guard, and he's going to get foul calls. But you know who else is pretty difficult to guard? It's the guy who missed the last game. Shannon, they talked about this in the broadcast. There's really, when he is doing what he does best, he's impossible to guard. When he's just grabs a rebound or gets an outlet pass and basically he can beat the defense, or at least has a defense running backwards towards their own rim, then there's nothing you can do against the guy. The guy's, he's one of the best, if not the best, in college basketball in drawing fouls. And again, so you talk about two talents on each side, Edey and Shannon, that are very, very difficult to guard. And that's if you are a good defensive team. I'm going to be very curious. Now think about it. Look, when we put out a lineup of 5 3-point shooters, right? So we got Domask, Shannon, Hawkins. I think Goody had like 14 points last game. Let's say, they talked about it today that Goody, he's kind of been hurt. He's had an ankle injury the last couple games, but supposedly he's 100%. I'm not jumping off the Goody bandwagon yet. I really think that for us to reach our potential and our ceiling, that he will play a vital role, just being able to hit those open threes. And then you have Harmon in the backcourt. I think that's 5, right? Just 5 guys where you have to guard all of them. Who's Edey going to guard in that scenario? If there's one thing that this Illinois team does very, very well, and this was said so by a lot of my Badgers friends, some of them who have their own shows, check out Bucky Report and Locked On Badgers. Ryan and Rajiv and Justin are fantastic guys. Illinois is very good at finding out what the mismatch is and exploiting it over and over and over and over again until you figure something out. So in that lineup, assuming, and of course this is the biggest assumption, this is what I think the game will ultimately come down to. Does Purdue get to play their way? Where they let Edey become Edey? And don't get me wrong, Edey's going to end this game with 24 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, and as a floor. Okay? Purdue fans saw me say 24 points and wanted to start laughing. No, I'm saying that's the floor. He very well may end up with 30. But what I'm envisioning for an Illinois victory is one of those scenarios where early in the game, once or twice, Shannon gets the ball. He's able to put his head down, attack the rim, and go up. And the fouls that are usually called against the opposition, what if Edey's one of those guys? There's not much Edey can do against Shannon. That he can put his hands up. But when you talk about a freight train like that and a big, giant human being like that, there's going to be a lot of physical contact when those two meet. And when those two meet, are the refs going to call it on Shannon every single time? I'm going to try to be an optimist. A lot of you guys are shaking your head. Yes, probably. I'm hoping not. But there's another chance to get Edey in foul trouble very early in the game, and that's with Terrence doing what Terrence Shannon Jr. does. And if he doesn't, that's fine. Again, if we put in a lineup of 5 guys who can shoot 3-pointers, now we can try to exploit Zach Edey on the defensive side. We know what he's going to do on the offensive side. We're going to need a Dane game. We're going to need all 5 of Dane's fouls. We're probably going to need 5 of Amani's fouls. Let me catch up on the chat real quick. Gville, Sonny's the man. Kevin and Ryan at keeping it O&B are dope. Absolutely. Thank you, Gville, for watching. Curtis Vance, thank you so much for watching. Harmon needs to get the start for senior day tomorrow. Have Rogers get the spot minutes for the game. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what Brad's going to do with that, because Ty's obviously his minutes have gone down lately. I know I'm not the only one to have noticed that, but Ty is so crucial for what this program stands for, not only in this game, but games moving forward, that I don't want his confidence to be shot in any sort of way. And I know I don't know the kid at all, so I don't mean to be speaking out of place, but I just want him to be, mentally strong enough. I don't want him to be disengaged in any sort of way. And after that first game, a lot of that conversation was about Ty Rogers. A lot of that conversation was like, is this just an exploit that Purdue has found that all other Big Ten teams can do? The answer to that's no. Unless you have Zach Edey, then yeah, sure. But if you don't, then that's just not going to work. With Ty and Brad, we're going to be able to figure out what to do. So I'm curious. My hunch, if I had to guess, is that they're still going to start Ty. But actually, like I believe, Curtis, you did say he can start because it's senior day. So Brad does have an out on that front, whether he chooses to use it or not. So we'll see. But my guess, I'm kind of going around in circles, is we do let Ty start. And then a minute or two in the game, we kind of see if Purdue's running the same system over again. Or if we've had a couple of days off now, if we have planned some sort of adjustment on our end. If we haven't and they're exploiting it again, and we have to make a change immediately. All right. Curtis, once again, Rogers playing a lot would play right into their hand. Yeah. We know that. And if we know that, then you know what? Brad knows that. And Matt Painter knows that. So I'm very curious what the chess match is going to be like tomorrow between two coaches that I highly, highly respect. Ryan F. Ryan, thank you for watching. So pumped for this game. Purdue better be ready to score 100 if they want to win. Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to get to that in a second, too. Another comment by Ryan. I think Justin and Luke are a lot better matchup in this position than Ty, just pulling Edey out of the paint. And that's kind of what I was alluding to. We can't play their style of game and beat them. And that's not a diss to Illinois. I don't think there's another team in the country that can play to Purdue's strengths and beat them. There's a reason they've only lost 3 games this year. But there's not a lot of teams that can score 90 points any game. And that's what's going to be required to beat Illinois. You're going to have to hit 90. On a bad day, you're going to have to hit 90. If we shoot bad, like Wisconsin game, we had a 4-minute stretch of not scoring a single field goal. We still hit 90. There's no over and under a number that you can give me where I'm not taking the over for this particular game. So there's a lot of pressure on Purdue. A lot of pressure on the opponent. Again, when our offense stagnates a little bit, that's your chance to jump on Illinois. That's your one opportunity, because otherwise we're going to get that 1.3, 1.4, if not 1.6, 1.7 points per possession. And there's just not many teams out there that have the talent and ability to score at that level. Purdue's one of them, though. Braden Smith. It's we all saw him not being the final 10 for the Bob Cousy Award for the best point guard, and now all of a sudden they released the top 5, and guess who's there? I think that was pretty funny because it's ridiculous. He's easily one of the handful best point guards in the country. Jackson, what's up, Fighting Illini Nation? Jackson, I always appreciate your support. He's as good of a friend, as good of a cheerleader as there is when it comes to content creators. And he's got his own show. Check him out at the Jacksonian on YouTube. So I'm trying to think. I'm already running a little long. I have a whole nother topic to talk about. Do I think Illinois wins tomorrow? I ultimately don't. Again, I think it's kind of going to be 50-50. I want to see who gets into foul trouble. Is it Edey or is it Shannon? Because, again, I said it before, that clash is going to happen. Those two bodies are going to meet under the rim. And if Edey's allowed to play, no, I'm going to phrase this incorrectly and people are going to get upset with me. If the calls from the referees go the way they have been for most of this year, it's going to go in Purdue's favor. And so ultimately, I think I'm going to make a score prediction. Let's do 96-91 Purdue. Now, again, you have to hit 90. This is a public service announcement for everyone that Illinois has to play for the rest of the season. Get some sleep the night before because you're going to have to hit 90 points because this team will. This team will, and that includes a stretch of 3-4 minutes each half of just not scoring. When we do score, there's nobody, and I mean this, nobody better in the country in doing it. So ultimately, final prediction, I think Purdue ekes one out. Congrats to them. Hopefully we can take care of business against Iowa in our finale. I think from when I looked at the standings, as long as we win one of our last two, we finalize or we've locked in the number 2 seed. If we lose the last 2 games and Northwestern wins their final 2 games, they actually jump us because they've beaten Purdue. And so they would have the number 2 seed. And, we don't want that. A successful season like this and to be jumped by the Wildcats, and especially after the last game of the football season, I don't want to think of the Northwestern Wildcats right now. So let's not let that happen. So let me know in your comment, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Are you confident about tomorrow? I know the boys keeping it O&B. They both predicted victories yesterday. I love that confidence. I'm not feeling it quite as much. Jackson, I hope the Fighting Illini beat Purdue tomorrow night. You and I both, Jackson. You and I both. Before we get on to the next topic, I just wanted to remind you once again, we have a new Discord. I have some very exciting announcements to come up that I will be announcing probably in the next week or two that both involve Illini Cast. One involves, other projects that I'm working on the side. And it's something where I don't feel comfortable sharing out in the open just yet out of respect for some people. But join our community. I'm more than willing to share with you guys there some of the exciting stuff that's coming. If you're an Illinois fan, I think you're going to be very excited to hear who we're kind of aligning ourselves with moving forward. And I think you'll be very excited with another opportunity that's been presented to me. And, I'd love to be able to talk to you guys about it. And it's not just me. There's other Illinois fans in the Discord. Tomorrow I'll be on it live, tweeting, or I guess messaging back and forth. Come discuss the game with me. In the future, I'm just building it out. So forgive me if it looks a little pedestrian right now. By the way, the link is in the description. I'm figuring it out on the fly how to create a Discord. So I have some exciting plans in mind for it in the future. And please join us. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And I apologize. I'm looking at my screen right now. For anyone who's watching this show on a very expensive monitor, that pimple on my nose can't be easy to be looking at right now. That light is shining straight on that. So my sincerest apologies for those of you. I'll try to stay back a little bit. Um, for those of you listening via your favorite podcast, which IlliniCast is available on, you got lucky today. Good on you. You got some good karma today that you didn't have to watch whatever this is on my nose. Okay, secondly, now we're going to talk about the Big Ten Coach of the Year. I was watching the Big Ten huddle yesterday. Shout out JR. JR, one of the hardest working men you're going to find in the content creation space. And they had a discussion on who they thought was going to be Big Ten Coach of the Year. Now, this is a topic which, at the beginning of the season, I was on yelling from the mountaintop about Brad being considered for it, especially, we're holding pretty close to Purdue. And then obviously we had a couple losses that we shouldn't have lost, including that Penn State one in the last 25 seconds or so, which unfortunately, if you really think about it, there's a chance that those 23 seconds cost us a chance to win the Big Ten this season. But I digress. The main names that are coming up for the Big Ten Coach of the Year award this year are Fred Hoiberg from Nebraska, Ben Johnson from Minnesota. You get a mention here and there about Matt Painter in Purdue for the job that he's done. And I think that's pretty much it, right? Oh, and Chris Collins, of course, Chris Collins. And now, I don't quite understand. I think it's clear that no one, and I'll say this, like watching the show yesterday, and I've seen a couple different shows just as I was kind of researching the topic and trying to find out what other people are saying. There's obviously no clear-cut answer. There's no one guy who's run away from the crowd and, oh, this is the guy, this is the Big Ten Coach of the Year. The most popular answer I've witnessed, at least, is Fred Hoiberg, who's obviously done a fantastic job. They're sitting at 11-8 in the conference now. 11-8, very respectable, especially in particular for their expectations coming into this year. I think they were projected either last or second to last in the conference. So, to have them at 11-8, and they're almost unbeatable at home. Good on you, especially for a guy who a lot of the fan base, the conversation was Hoiberg on the hot seat? Was it time to let go of him and move on? Chris Collins, he's got Northwestern currently third in the conference at 11-7. I think he won it last year too, right? I think so. I'm not going to Google it. If someone can confirm it in the chat, I'd appreciate that. And sorry, Ryan's commenting again. Thank you, Ryan, once again for chiming in. I listened to the Purdue Field of 68 podcast, and the Purdue guys are not confident in a win at all. They think it's really a game for Purdue. I do too. Well, we'll all see. I'll be live tomorrow as soon as the game is over. We were hitting a crazy number of people watching the live, at least for IlliniCast, almost 3 times our normal number for the Wisconsin game. So I'm going to be live again. Austin actually is going to try to be at the game, so maybe we'll be able to check in with him there. But okay, back to the topic in hand. Chris Collins, I believe he won it last year. He's got them playing at 11-7, 20-9 on the year. And they have a victory over Purdue, and they've split the season with us. Ben Johnson is one of my favorite personal coaches. I think he's a future star in the coaching profession. I've talked about on different shows that I was allowed to be a guest on that I think if I had a major program that was serious about basketball, he would be one of the guys I actually would consider hiring. I think he's got a very high offensive intellect, and Minnesota is just not an easy place to coach. And the fact that he's got the team playing to their level this year, I think is huge credit to him and the job he's able to do. And, again, there's no Ben Johnson hate coming from my end. But I think this is the year Brad Underwood should win. Now, if we were to win tomorrow against Purdue, then I think it's going to get more national attention and his name will become a little bit more prominent in the conversation. But I'm having this conversation the game before. Right now, the Illini sit at 13-5 in the conference. We were Big Ten preseason poll. I believe we were number 4. I think it was Purdue. No, Purdue or Michigan State number 1 and 2. Then I believe Maryland was number 3, and yikes, Maryland finishing second to last at 7-12. And then it was us. It was 4, and Wisconsin was 5, if my memory serves me correctly. So we're on pace. No, I guess the worst we can finish is 3rd. So we're going to finish higher than where we were projected to. Okay, so I know a lot of people use that as a basic metric, which drives me nuts. Because if that's what you use as a metric, then most years a guy like Matt Painter and a guy like Brad Underwood are never going to be able to win Big Ten Coach of the Year. Why? Because they're too good of coaches. Someone make sense out of that for me. The Coach of the Year, the best coaching job, is not won by the 2 men who every year do the best coaching job. They always give it to the guy who, just you have low expectations for. I mean, Greg Gard won it a couple years ago. Juwan Howard's won it. Jeez, Juwan Howard. Anyways, back to Underwood. We are now at 5 straight 20-win seasons for Brad. No other coach, and I'm looking at you, Matt Painter, has done that. 5 years running right now. No one's on the streak that Brad is at the moment. No coach has won more games in the last 5 years in the Big Ten than Brad Underwood. Again, winning 20 games a year is not easy. Winning 20 games a year in a conference like the Big Ten, I mean, that's such an amazing accomplishment, and that truly is why I hold Brad in such high regard. I get people's frustrations with him, and I have the same frustrations. But we truly are, and I think it was Jeremy Werner who said this like 2 weeks ago, and it really hit me that we truly are in like a golden era of Illini basketball right now. Yes, we have one thing missing right now, and that's the postseason success. But I mean, I was a little too young to really witness the Lou Henson days. To just have these routine 20-win Big Ten regular season success. It's not something which I wasn't even sure if we were ever going to see that again. Especially, going through the tail end of Bruce Weber and John Gross, those seasons, like we were in the dumpster. And here comes Brad. 2 seasons. And here's another argument for him. Again, for some reason, Brad Underwood has never won the Big Ten Coach of the Year, when, to me at least, he shows you the best coaching job every single year. We know, first 2 years, he comes to us from Oklahoma State and Stephen F. Austin before that, where he runs a high pressure press type of defense. He tries it with Illinois, and we are the worst defensive team in the conference by far. We're playing the first round of the Big Ten tournament every single year, at least those 2 years. And Brad recognized that, that press style, it's not going to work at the big boys league. So what did he do? He adjusted. We no longer play that sort of basketball. Then we had, obviously, he's upped our recruiting game every single year. One year we played through Io. We got Kofi. Io graduates. We play through Kofi. And to keep in mind, the roster is cycling back and forth, or cycling through. Coming into this year, we had Terrence Shannon Jr., Dane Danger, Coleman Hawkins. I believe that's it, right? When you're talking about just and Ty Rogers, sure, I guess you can say Ty Rogers. Those are the only guys that are coming that were big contributors to the team last year that were returning this year. Brad has essentially built a completely brand new team on the fly, and he's done this 2 years in a row now, that is competing for the Big Ten championship with just a game or two left in the year. Marcus Damask, fine, maybe Dalton Connect, but otherwise you're talking about the best transfer of the offseason. Quincy's been struggling lately a little bit, but he's been a mainstay in our rotation the entire season. And when Shannon was gone, he was one of our best players, a huge key, and one of the reasons I was super excited about the team's chances when Shannon came back. Justin Harmon playing that perfect little guard role off the bench, and he has this tenacity on defense. He plays. He's got some driving ability on offense. He can hit an open shot. He's made some very key plays for us in the last couple of games. 3 guys he brought in play a huge role on our team this year. Again, this is all on the fly. There's no, and not that there's anything wrong with it. Matt Painter has his style where, it's a little more evolved than Tom Izzo, but it's like he has his guys, he recruits them, he develops them, and he coaches them up to not only their ceilings, but beyond with some guys. I mean, Edey was the 400th some odd rank basketball recruit. So, again, this is not a diss towards Matt Painter. I have all the respect in the world for him. But I think what Brad does is arguably more difficult. And next year, he's going to be doing it again. I saw a preseason poll, believe it or not. I saw a preseason poll posted this past week projecting next year that had Illinois at 9 or 10 in the Big Ten. How ridiculous is that? And just basically saying Illinois is going to be losing so many of their key pieces in the offseason. We don't know what they're going to look like. Yeah, you're right. You don't know what they're going to look like. I don't know what they're going to look like. Brad and the staff right now have no idea what it's going to look like. But you know what? They've proven to me year in, year out that they'll bring the right guys in. So this year, again, just hit the 5th straight year of 20 wins in a row. If there's ever a year to give someone maybe a career achievement award, I would say just give it to Brad this year. Only because, again, this is my opinion, Fred Hoiberg's done a fantastic job this year. Chris Collins continues to do a fantastic job with the limitations he's got with that Northwestern program. Ben Johnson is probably my favorite coach in the league outside Brad. But I wouldn't say either of them, you look at them like, wow, fantastic job. No doubt, run away from the field. And because I put Brad in the coaching category as those guys, I think this is the year that you just give it to Brad. He deserves it. He deals with a lot of hate from his own fan base. And now keep in mind, this is a fan base who gets triggered quite easily. Let's be honest. We're a very emotional bunch, and it's just because we haven't had that off-season success or postseason success. But I think this is a year Brad gets it. We've got the best offense of my lifetime. It truly is a pleasure to watch Illinois basketball right now. And I don't know when I've said that before. And I've seen a lot of good players in my past. I was in college during the national championship run. I've seen Io. I've seen Kofi. I've seen really talented Illinois basketball teams. And I'm not saying this team is as good as them, although I think their ceiling is just as high. But I know for a fact when it comes to offense, I mean, again, we've been number one in the country since January 1st. We're not going to see this again. Brad last year lost 3 times in a row to Penn State, to this system, which Brad, I think he was the one who dubbed it himself, booty ball, who he just could not figure out what to do with it. So what does he do? He does what a really, really good coach does. In the offseason, he targets a couple different targets. Marcus Damask, Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. Pretty impressive accolade. But honestly, if you ask any Illinois fan, if you ask me, the sleepers guys, they got in trouble for it. No one was super impressed by it. You lost Jaden Epps. You lost Sky Clark. You lost some very important pieces to the team. And you place him with Marcus Damask. And now Marcus Damask is in the running for, if he's not first team All Big Ten, he has to be second team All Big Ten. And if you're one of those small brain reporters who is going to leave Terrence Shannon off because of things he has not related to the basketball court, then you have to put Damask in his place when it comes to the All-American team. No one thought that could happen from a guy from Southern Illinois. And yet he plays that booty ball, that Pickett role that Pickett played for Penn State last year. He plays it almost better than Pickett does. He's not as athletic as Pickett was. But that's what a good coach does. You have Brad Underwood, a guy who is just constantly evolving as a coach, just constantly seeing what's happening in the sport and reevaluating and changing. And he's changing with the times. Talk to a Spartans fan right now. They've got arguably the best coach in Big Ten history. Ask them how happy they're with Tom is right now in 2024. I talked to a couple. They're not very happy. Brad has no problems adjusting his strategy, changing things around to stay above water. And year after year after year, he somehow wins 20 games here in the Big Ten. And I don't think it's really arguable. Like, we're, if not the best program of the last 5 years, we're top 2. And keep in mind, those first 2 years, Brad was where he wasn't as successful with Illinois. We just weren't a good team. He was taking over a team with John Gross, who just didn't leave us a lot of talent. So he was rebuilding those 2 years. And now, once he's got the machine rolling, we're just churning out 20 victory seasons like it's nothing. And that's what I don't know how else to say it. It's like, this isn't normal for us. Yeah, we're historically a great basketball program. I think we're number 15 or 16 all time in wins. But this level of success, 20 wins a year, is something we need to be very grateful for, because I don't know how many teams in the country can say that. And again, Purdue, the perceived juggernaut of the conference. Matt Painter hasn't done that. Matt Painter 5 years ago won 18 games and 16 games the following year, or something along those lines. Give Brad the Coach of the Year award this year. I think he's done a fantastic job. Oh, I never even mentioned what he's dealt with the whole Shannon situation. How did I not mention that? Especially in particular this year. Handling those off-the-court issues and keeping the team strong and together and united. And again, once Shannon was gone, a couple of their guys were playing their best basketball. Quincy had a couple 20-point games. I'm pretty sure Harmon had a 20-point game while Terrence was gone. And then Terrence comes back. And since he's come back, we've got the best offense in the country. Brad has done an absolute masterful job this year of coaching in the Big Ten. And again, if there was another guy out there who was running away with it, I would be honest about it and say, yeah, give it to him. I'd be frustrated. I'd be angry. I'd be annoyed because I think Brad's done a fantastic job here at Illinois. And I can't believe guys like Guard and Juwan Howard, who, again, Illinois or Brad Underwood, I think is 15-0 or something like that against those two guys. They've won the Big Ten Coach of the Year in the last 5 years, and he hasn't. Chris Collins being another guy who's won. Now, Chris Collins, obviously, when he won, he did a fantastic job. So don't get me wrong there. But this is the year to give it to Brad. Let me know what you think. Let me catch up to here. Brad, thanks for chiming in. Matt Painter should have won it last year and this year. Last year, I mean, I think they won like 29 games. So I can see the argument for last year. But again, I think it was Chris Collins who won it. And it's because they just give it to the team with the lowest expectations coming into the year. So automatically, Brad and Matt are kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to this award. So, I mean, this year, I'm not going to say much about this year. Their preseason top three, they've had most of their, if not all of their guys come back from last season's team. They brought in, one key transfer in Lance Jones, who, of course, he's played fantastic. And, I'm not sure he really is in the running for me so much this year. Now watch, like some of my Purdue fans, like this is the only part that they're going to pay attention to, me saying I don't think Matt Painter should have won, even though I've spent the last 51 minutes talking about how much I respect Matt and the job that he's done. But yeah, I don't think he deserves it this year. I think the job that Brad has done and the other guys that I mentioned earlier have done a little bit better performance-wise this year. But again, 53 minutes, that's usually way longer than I do solo. That might change in the future. Again, I have a couple announcements that I will be making very soon. Join me in my Discord. It's in the description. Feel free to DM me, ask me. Like I'm very excited to talk about some of the future opportunities that are coming by. Please, 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 it costs you nothing. Just hit that like button. Just hit that subscribe button. It helps me out so much. We had such a run in January where I think we increased our followers by 200%. And now we're just kind of, every day we'll get a couple more, which again, I'm truly grateful for. Thank you so much. But if I can hit 500 by the end of the college basketball season, I would be so super excited. But that's it for now. I don't see any more comments. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm contemplating doing a call-in tomorrow. That way, if you guys don't want to just chat, if you guys want to actually jump on with me and, you don't have to turn your camera on. It's my favorite style of recording. It reminds me of like sports radio, and that's like how I grew up. If you want to vent tomorrow, or if you want to, if things go well and you want to celebrate with me, maybe we'll all grab your favorite adult beverage and do a cheers together or something like that. I don't know. Leave me thoughts in the comment sections here. Say it in the Discord. Let me know. We can do something special for tomorrow night's game. And for now, I will see you in about 24 hours. And go Illini.